Hi, Nathan.
Yep, she's back.
Hey. So we are gonna get started in T-1 minute.
Good.
Everything is set up, so we do have French translation available.
Sweet.
Hello to everybody who is already joined in. I am extra looking forward to this session because obviously how we deliver listing presentations during lockdown with social distancing has changed. And I haven't hosted any listing presentations personally, so I've been doing it all theoretically. And now we get a chance to hear from Nathan Dart, who has been doing it in real life as a agent, Remax agent. So for those of you who don't know Nathan and have not tuned into his last session, I'll just do a quick intro. We are huge fans. He's been on our stages multiple times at the conventions. He was meant to be one of our speakers for our speaker tour. But as you all know, the speaker tour is this year. Sorry, my WhatsApp, I forgot to X out of that. Okay, let me go ahead and cancel my WhatsApp. So we're really fortunate that he has agreed to speak to our network on our Level Up series. And today we're going to be talking about all things listing presentation. So Nathan is a Remax agent. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself really briefly. Go ahead, Nathan.
Hey, everybody. Yes, I am a Remax agent like you guys. I'm actually a second generation Remax agent, grown up in this business my entire life. So this is who I am. And I would love to have been with you guys over the last, well, I guess it was now 2 months ago, which is hard to believe we've been in this thing for 2 months. But hey, you know what? We have to learn to adapt. I do look forward to coming back and actually giving you a listing presentation that is more of a face-to-face listing presentation rather than a virtual listing presentation. But what's really cool is we're learning to adapt. And what we're going to go through today in this listing presentation is normally with my face-to-face normal, so-called normal or previous listing presentations, I was converting over 94% of the opportunities that I had. So 94% of the sellers that I met with, they signed with me with exclusive listings. Now, awesome. With this whole virtual listing presentation we're going to do and talk about, I've converted 100%. 100%. It's making me wonder. It's like, do I just need to do all this virtually? What happened? So somehow I improved by 6%. Maybe I need to go on more listing appointments. Might be part of the issue. But anyhow, so far it's been really good, and I'm excited about sharing it with you guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much. For those of you, I see we just got quite a few people who joined there in the last minute. So hello to all of the newcomers. If you are looking for French translation, we do have that available for you today. You just need to go ahead and click on interpretation and then the French flag. We will be recording this session. So in case your internet goes down, in case you need to take care of something and leave your computer for a second, not to worry. You will be getting a recording of this session along with some notes that I'm going to be taking for today's session. Yes, in terms of questions, there are a couple ways that you can interact with us and ask us questions. One way is through the chat feature. If you want to share something with the group, be sure to enable all participants and attendees. Otherwise, it's going to automatically just go to me and Nathan, which is great. We'll see it. But if you want to share something with everybody, please be sure to enable all attendees as well. You can also ask us questions by using the Q&A feature. And if we do have enough time, which I hope we do, we might go a few minutes over. We'll have a few minutes at the end to ask questions. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nathan. I believe you're going to go ahead and share your screen.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen here with you. You guys, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun today because today is a full-on workshop day where you have full access to my computer. So hopefully when we do have time, which I do expect that we will, we can answer any questions you may have. So let's see. All right, does everybody see my screen? Haley, give me a thumbs up that you can see it.
I can see your screen.
Excellent.
I see your family and a check.
Look at that. And as you can tell with the beard, it wasn't that long ago that we took that picture. Yeah, this thing is, I'm ready for it to go, but I'm keeping my wife happy for now with this COVID beard. My daughter, not so happy, but it'll soon come off when we get back to this new normal that we're in. But thank you guys for having me on the webinar here today. I'm excited to be here because I'm excited to share with you how we've been able to adapt in the new times that we're in with the new stay-at-home order. I'm in Maryland, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. We are still at a stay-at-home order, yet we are deemed essential. So for me, business is still functioning. It's not, of course, as productive or as busy as it was or in previous Aprils or May, but we are adapting. Just as a reference for what we've been able to do over just the month of April, we had 16 closings in the month of April and wrote 12 deals in the month of April. Most of them, a lot of them were done virtually. So with that, where I'm coming from is a place of this is something I put into practice, and I'm excited about sharing it with you. Now, initially, I was supposed to be in Europe showing you guys how to do a listing presentation, a live listing presentation when you get to meet with a seller. I adapted and adjusted to a virtual listing presentation given the times that we're in. So we're going to go through this together and hopefully look forward in the future that I get to leave the US and come see you guys again, and we can go through an actual listing presentation where you get to have face-to-face again. This is more of an adapted to virtual. But what is so important, and especially with you in Europe, I know that I'm talking to a number of different countries and everybody's practicing business a little bit different. We all have the value of being RE/MAX agents, but not all of us are doing exclusive listings. And I know that's what we're working towards. I know it's going to be a shift. It's a significant shift because in North America, we do exclusive listings. Like I wouldn't even consider doing a listing unless it was exclusive. That's just how I operate. And that's just the mindset that I've grown up in. Now for you guys, it would be in a bit of a transition. So I get that. But here's the reality. And here's something that my father taught me. As I told you, I'm second generation. It's all about value. In absence of value, it comes down to price. So the trick is, in order to get the exclusive listings, you have to present your value. Because if you can present your value, educating the consumer to what is they think they know, but they don't know, then at that point, they're willing to pay you. And that's the trick. So what can we do to present value, educating consumers to what is they think they know, but they don't know, so you can get paid? Now, when I look at every listing opportunity, I know what it costs me. I know the investment it takes to create those opportunities. For me, it's one of two different investments. One, it's financial. For every listing opportunity that I have, it costs me $3,250. Where does that come from? These are all my advertising efforts. This is all the stuff I do with my past clients. This is what I do with maintaining my staff. This is everything that it costs me just to take those opportunities to go on a listing appointment to generate more business. This is my investment, my financial investment. So for every listing opportunity, I have to take it seriously because of what the investment is. Everybody with me? All right. The other investment I have is my family. Yes, this is my wife and my kids. Everything that I do is so I can create a better life for my family. I want to build a business that supports the life that I want to live, especially to support the life that supports my family and creates experiences for my family. So anytime I'm on a listing appointment, I recognize that I have to convert, okay, and I have to be able to serve the clients so that I can better serve my family. So it's two parts. So before you go on a listing opportunity and you have to recognize the investment that you're making before you go on the appointment, because I believe if you don't see there's an investment to have that opportunity, how seriously are you taking that? This is when the game is on. This is when you have to show up on the field. And this is what I want to be able to walk you through. But it starts with understanding your investment. So what I'm going to take you guys through is this is a workshop in a sense. Unfortunately, there's no a lot of dialogue here. We're hopefully saving time for the end. But I want to take you through every aspect of my presentation, the pre-listing, the actual listing, and then the post-listing. Show you some tips and tricks of what it is that we do that convert at such a high level. So we look at the pre-listing process. Now, for some of us, not all of us, certainly not the people on this call, but people in our industry, they take listing opportunities and they say, okay, somebody wants to sell their house. They just show up at their house. No preparation at all. They don't see the investment that has to be made in ensuring that they convert at the highest level possible. We do. We understand that speed is everything. So once that contact contacts us, we want to make sure we respond to that lead immediately. It's either myself or somebody on my team is there to make sure that lead is responded to immediately. The objectives of that call, if it's from me or if it's from somebody on my team, is to gather as much information as possible. What we want to understand is clearly we want to know their address. We want to have all of their contact information, their phone numbers, their email addresses, their property. We want everything about them. We also want to establish their timing. We want to know not only when do they want to have their house on the market by, but ultimately when do they want to be moved out of their property and where do they want to go? We want to clearly understand the sense of urgency that they have and why they're considering putting their house on the market. As well is how do they find us? What outlet do they have? Was it through a past client? Was it through a referral through somebody in the neighborhood? Was it a direct mail piece? Was it one of the internet platforms? What was it that drew them in and attracted them to us? I want to be able to know that because once again, you guys heard me speak before, I'm running a business and it's my responsibility as a business owner to track, measure, and improve because obviously if I'm seeing a fair amount of leads coming from one area of my business, I might want to invest more money in those areas. If I find that I'm not receiving a lot of leads from another investment, I might take that down. So it's tracking is absolutely critical. So we've now got the contact information. At that point, my team has then posted into my CRM or at least asked me to now schedule the appointment. Now the key, especially in this new COVID area that we're in, before I start any conversation in regards to real estate, we want to be empathetic to what is going on in their houses right now, what's going on with their families and their struggles. Before I ever talk about real estate, I want to know how they're doing. I want to know how their family is doing. How's it going with work? Do you still have a job? Are you working from home? How is it working from home? And what does your day look like? Are you doing homeschool right now with your kids? How are you adapting? Just really being empathetic to where they are right now, because my primary focus, especially during these last 2 months that I've been in lockdown for you guys, you've been on even a few weeks more than I have to come from a place of helping rather than selling. It is so important that we do that now and have that as our clear mindset before we move on with anything. Come from a place of helping rather than selling. I was on a webinar last week out in Canada, and they had asked me because everybody's having a difficult time right now as far as transactions. And right now, my team in the DC metro area, we're outperforming our market by 25%. So people ask, Nathan, what are you doing differently? I'm not necessarily doing anything differently. What I'm doing is my message is different. The message that I'm presenting to the consumers is different than what they're receiving by everybody else. I'm not lying. I'm just coming from a place of understanding not only where they're coming from as far as their concerns or hesitations, but I'm educating them what is they think they know, but they don't know. Letting them know truly what's going on in the marketplace, letting them know that people are selling and selling safely and successfully in the marketplace. And I break that down, which I'll be able to share with you in a moment. So we want to come from a place of helping rather than selling. Prior to the appointment itself, it depends. Every country is different. Every state in the US is different. I want to get as much information from them as possible. So I ask, prior to us getting together on a Zoom call, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing everything via Zoom, just like what we're on right now. I want them to provide me as much information about the house as possible. So I asked them if they could send me pictures of specific rooms in the house or take me through a FaceTime virtual tour of their property in any given way. Or if they're comfortable, I'm happy to come over to their house if they're comfortable, fully masked, glasses, gloves, booties, spend 10 minutes in their house to do a quick walkthrough of their property, just to do an assessment. This is before I do any type of presentation. I want to be able to do that if I'm able to. Now, in Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C., I am able to do that. Now, once again, state countries are all different. So what can you do if you can't go walk through the house? The FaceTime virtual tours and or the still photos. Okay, so that's where we start. Then from there, we ask them how they would like us to deliver some information to them up front. Now, if you guys had seen me speak before at conferences, you guys know that once we book the appointment, we not only send a testimonial video, which I'll show you, including a questionnaire, but also a trifold, which shows more or less a preview of what we're going to do to help them sell their home. Now, in these circumstances, during these times, not a lot of people are comfortable receiving mail. I get that. So we ask them, would you rather receive something in mail or just have it emailed over to them? It's been 50-50. Some people don't really care. Some people just say, hey, just go ahead and email it. Not a big deal, but still I want to be able to provide them options. During that time, I want to be able to create value. I want to be able to capture their attention. I want to show them that I'm different than the other agents that they may be speaking with as well. So quick tip. Sometimes, depending on what the circumstances may be, I might go over to the house, do a quick coming soon video, right? Similar to what you've seen from Jesse in front of the house, just letting them know that I'm excited to be able to market this property in today's marketplace. Also at that point, I want to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room being, how do we safely sell their house in today's marketplace? So I want to take them and demonstrate what is it we're currently doing to sell homes safely in the marketplace. So I want to take them through our safe showing protocol. In our safe showing protocol, you'll see exactly what we put in place for all the safety measures following the CDC guidelines here right now. One of the recommendations we have for all of our sellers is sellers are to leave the home at least 10 minutes before the buyer enters the property, making sure that it's a sterile environment with not a lot of people. Once again, in Maryland, where I'm at, houses are allowed to be shown, but it has to be an agent and 2 people, no more. 1 agent, 2 people, no more. Everything in the house has to be cleaned. As the seller leaves, they have to wipe everything down. All doorknobs are wiped, the light switches are wiped, but we leave the doors open and we turn all the lights on. So that prevents people from having to touch anything in the house. Now, with that being said, we also advise the agents, as you'll assume here, that they need to clean and wipe everything down as they leave. While they're in the house, they're also told that they need to be wearing masks, as well as any booties and gloves, which we are providing to the actual people as they walk through the front door. What we find, though, is most agents are preparing their clients with those items, okay? But we still have them available if necessary. Once we've reviewed that protocol, I post it into the CRM, and that's when I launch my pre-listing campaign. When I launched the pre-listing campaign, once again, some of you guys saw the business planning session that we did, I believe it's 2 or 3 weeks ago now, where you see that when I launch these workflows, it's not me. I do have a team that launches these certain workflows. You guys have the presentation and you actually have the workflow. So if you have any questions, refer back. I know it's posted online. You can see it all there. But we set that appointment. Now, when I'm setting my appointment, I'm always coming from a place of being responsive. Now, there's a difference between being reactive and being responsive. By being reactive, it comes from a place of weakness. By being responsive comes from a place of strength. And that's where we want to be able to operate from. Let me tell you a story. So just think of it this way. To be reactive, an example is if you're out to dinner or you're at an event or whatever, and you've got your phone on you and you get a call and you don't recognize the number and it could possibly be a lead. If you pick that phone call up and you don't know what it is and you just answer the phone, you are then being reactive. If somebody's calling you in regards to showing of 123 Main Street, by you being reactive, you don't know the price of 123 Main Street. You don't know how many days it's been on the market. You don't know if it's priced too high or priced too low. You don't know of any objections that the property may have against it, or does it have any competition. You don't know anything about the property. So what you ultimately have to do is you have to hang up the phone, go research that property, and then call that person back again. That shows a point of weakness. Because remember, to show value in the marketplace, you have to educate the consumer to what is they think they know, but they don't know. And you cannot ever do that in a reactive position, but you can in a responsive position. Because if you let that go to voicemail, you can then hear what is it they're looking for, call them back immediately when you have that information, and truly be able to educate that consumer to what they think they know, but they don't know. You got to know the comps, the recent sales, educate the sellers, discover the motivation, and then book that appointment. Every phone call that you make, the intention is to book an appointment, whether it be a face-to-face, hopefully sooner rather than later, a virtual appointment, or just the very next time that you're going to call them back. We've talked about that before when we talked about lead conversion. Then we send them the trifold as well as the testimonial. Now, the booking of the virtual appointment, I want to make a note of this. How do we do that? We can either just schedule it when we've got them on the phone, or we send them a link. Now, I believe in Europe, you guys have access to something called Calendly. Calendly is the platform that I use to help book virtual appointments. I use a Calendly link on everything, whether it be my BombBomb videos, my email, my text messages, whatever. So clients can see my schedule of when I'm available for a virtual listing presentation, buyer consultation. I use it for jam sessions with different agents. If agents need help, whatever it is, they can see that within my schedule and book those appointments with me, and then it gets fed into my CRM. So that's how we're setting those up if we're not otherwise having this conversation. The trifolds that we send out. This is an example of our trifold. Sorry for the delay there, I'll speed this up. This is what we will either mail to them or we'll send to them in a PDF. This is an example of our trifold. Then we've got our listing book. Once again, this is if I'm going on a listing appointment, this is what I'm bringing with me. This is also what my team is preparing for me. I don't prepare this. This is prepared for me by my team, where they're going to include the tax record, the previous listing, all the other comps, the listing agreement, everything that I need to be fully prepared to walk into that appointment. All that is laid out and ready to go. Now, same thing applies here. Even though that it's virtual, I can still see everything there. They send it all to me in a PDF in which I will then post on my computer screen, which I'll show you in a second. But this is the testimonial I'll show you quickly of what they receive. Now, in your marketplace, I want you to imagine anytime you're competing against anybody else, how many other agents are actually delivering a testimonial video to their prospective clients? Think about that. This is the video that we send out.
I'm Nathan Dart. I'm the team leader for Dart Homes as well as an owner of Remax. My father started in the mid-'80s, grown up in this business my entire life. I got licensed back when I was 17. My dad made it very clear that I couldn't start selling real estate yet. He made me go to college, which I'm grateful for. Graduated from University of Maryland, and as soon as I graduated, I started selling real estate. My dad taught me persistence. He taught me follow-up, but he also truly taught me grit and understanding how hard it was that you had to work to be successful, to earn the respect of that of your clients, to truly serve them the way they deserve to be served. Right now, over 70% of our business does come from our past clients and referrals. And that to me is a testament to the honesty, the integrity, the loyalty that we serve our clients with. Today, we're top 100 teams in the entire US, top 5 teams in the state of Maryland. We have a moral and ethical duty to that of our clients to make sure that they are successful.
He's somebody who's bright, capable, exceedingly articulate, and who takes his customers' needs seriously.
It's not just about the house, but he knows about the area and what we'd be looking for in school systems, and he brings a lot of insight into it.
He's the one that's always getting back to you, doing the follow-up, not me having to follow up with him.
And Nathan sold the place in 2 days.
2 days.
It was a record breaker.
If he didn't call us back within an hour, he would have someone from his team call us back or email us and keep us in the loop on what was going on. So we really like that.
I refer them to like friends and family, and everyone's been so happy with them. I mean, that just tells you that anyone I recommend, I know they're going to be taken care of.
I think what's really important, particularly with real estate, is setting proper expectations. He did that from the very moment we first met and discussed the listing price, all the way through to the ratified contract and then ultimately to the closing.
He is knowledgeable. He always has a smile on his face.
And that makes me feel, or us feel like we're the only client.
We trust him. We trust that he knows us and knows what we're looking for.
You're going to get a team that is knowledgeable about the area, understands real estate in this specific marketplace.
We went with Nathan because he was the most upfront and honest from start to finish.
It's very stressful. So you got somebody that can put you at ease and just make you feel like everything's going to be okay. That's really key.
So I think he just kind of gets where we're coming from, which makes me have total trust in him.
Not trusting.
We want to make this an easy process. We want to make it an enjoyable process because you are buying your home. You are selling a home. This could be one of the most stressful things in your life that you ever have to do. We want to make it one of the most pleasurable, enjoyable experiences that you and your family have to do.
These testimonials are absolutely critical, especially in regards to our conversion. It certainly gives us an unfair advantage. And if you could do something like this, it doesn't have to be a production of what we created, but just something showing what it is that you do. Because look, branding and marketing is more than what we say we do. It's actually what it is that we do. So having somebody else be an advocate for us, showing what the experience that they had in working with us is absolutely critical, and especially in this environment in particular. So once they receive that video, they also have received a questionnaire. The questionnaire is understanding the highlights or the spec sheet for their house. I want them to tell me the story of what makes their house unique. I want them to tell me the story because I want to be able to share that story with any of the consumers that may also be interested in their property. So we confirm the appointment the day before the appointment. We either call, email, confirming the appointment, confirm they received and reviewed the brochures and the videos, and I get to track whether or not they've actually watched the video, and most importantly, how many times they've watched that video, which you can see certainly how well I'm going to be able to convert, whether or not they watched it or how many times they've watched it. Confirm they've reviewed the questionnaire and have gotten it back to me. Ask if they have any questions and then go from there. Now, what we've added on is I also want to make sure that they reviewed and clearly understand, no questions at this point, in regards to the safe selling protocol, because it's so very important that I need to have them involved in that safe selling protocol as well. Once again, revisiting exactly what we talked about before, confirming that they are, engaged and registered in the safe showing protocol with us. Now, the virtual presentation, how do we do that? Here's the guidelines that I like to follow when doing a virtual listing presentation. One, when I send them the Zoom link, I send that to them well in advance. I want to make sure I log in at least 10 minutes prior to the Zoom call. The last thing you want to have happen is that you log in after they've already logged in, because that's kind of awkward, right? You want to make sure that you're logged in at least 10 minutes before. Also, quick tip, you want to be very mindful of what else you have on your screen, because when you're sharing your screen, all the tabs on the top and all the tabs on the bottom are fully exposed for everybody else to see. So be very careful what tabs. So, I was kidding with my agents on my team. I was going this, I said, so make sure you don't have the tab saying, how to sell real estate 101, or maybe some other tabs. But hey, I'll let you figure that out. But be very mindful of what tabs are open on your screen. With that being said, what do you have to have on your screen? And that's what I want to show you in a second. But what you have to have is a PDF or PowerPoint of your listing presentation. Obviously, what I'm taking you through is the actual PowerPoint presentation. So I have it on PowerPoint. Then you want to have a PDF copy of the appraisal of the property. What I do is I have a service where I can get a desk appraisal of the property before I ever walk in the house. So it's just an additional service or add-on that I provide. Maybe you could provide something similar to that. It's a desk appraisal from an appraiser. They never walk through the house. They just look at the outside of the house based on square footage with a 1 mile radius, plus minus 20% based on square footage to determine a general value. Then I also have a link to a live feed. So for you guys that don't have MLSs, you may have a platform which shows what other properties may be available with pictures. So you want to be able to show the live feed. Try to get and narrow it down as much as you can. I like to use the model of 3-3-3. 3 actives, 3 under contract, and 3 sold, if you can. Now I understand everybody where I'm speaking to right now, everybody's got a different platform. So how can you do that? I don't have the answer. I just want you guys to think about how can you expose at least 3 active, 3 under contract, 3 sold in the last 6 months to show evidence of where the market is. Then as far as the history of that property, if you can. So public record, tax bills, whatever, showing the property and how it compares against the other ones, as well as have your listing agreement and disclosures available to the consumer so they can see and you can walk them through that. So you want to have that available on your screen. Then it gets to the actual listing presentation itself. Now, in the actual listing presentation, before it starts, and this is the same thing if it's a face-to-face or if it's a virtual, before it starts, I need you to ask 3 very important questions. And once again, you guys are getting copies of all these slides in the video, so just hang with me. The 3 questions you have to ask is critical because this is your cheat sheet. I need to ask these questions so I need to know how to thread the answers to their questions through this entire presentation. First, when and where are you moving? I know I asked that up front, but I want to ask it again. I want to get real clear to when and where they're moving, but most importantly, why, because that why is going to be what's going to cause them to actually take action. So I want to understand that, and once again, thread it through my presentation. Then, for what are you hoping to sell your house for? Right? Now, if I ask somebody, what are you hoping to sell your house for? I know that's why I'm here. I know that's why but we're going to get to that, but I just want to understand where you're coming from. What are you hoping to sell your house for? Now, do you think I get an answer every single time? No. Sometimes 50% of the time they say, well, Nathan, that's why you're here. I'm not giving up showing my cards. I said, no, I get that. But the reality is I don't get to pick the price. My sellers, they don't get to pick the price. The price is solely determined by what a buyer is willing to pay. I just want to understand from you, what are you hoping to sell your house for? Then they give me a number. Once they give me that number, I also have to figure out, are they too high? Are they too low? Or are they right on? Because if they're too high, I'm gonna have to spend a little more emphasis on pricing it correctly in today's marketplace. Everybody with me? All right. Then the third, the most important question, because a lot of times they may be interviewing other agents as well. I want to know clearly, what are their expectations of me? as their agent in regards to selling their home? Very important questions. What is your expectations of me as far as your expectations in selling your home? At this point, they're going to tell me exactly what it is they're looking for in a real estate agent. Once I have that, once again, I can thread that through the conversation, making sure that I appeal to everything that they want to have in a real estate agent. Very, very important. Now that I've had these 3 questions answered, I can get started in the listing presentation. So in the listing presentation itself, it has to start from a point of education. Now, especially during COVID, we have to understand our numbers clearly because it's in 2 fronts. For one, when I talk about the DC metro market, I can tell a seller, because of it's the reality of things, is that when sellers put their house on the market, they're convinced that 100% of the houses that go on the market sell. That has not been the reality, at least in the DC metro area over the last 12 months. Only 53% of the homes that actually went on the market actually sold. 47% of them did not. So know your numbers as well. The reason why that was is some sellers said, hey, if I can't get the price I want to get, I'm not going to sell. Other sellers said, if I can't get the price I want to get, I'm just going to rent. And unfortunately, in the US and North America, what we're seeing is some foreclosures and short sales coming back into the marketplace because of the housing crisis that we had over 10 years ago. But that's a whole other story. But in educating people to what's going on in the market here today is also very important, because through the hysteria, through the media, people think the real estate market has shut down. It is not the case. The reality is, in the DC metro market over the last 30, 45 days within the whole COVID process here, we're seeing that the inventory in our marketplace is running about a month and a half. So 1.5 months of inventory right now in the DC metro area. What that means is that we don't have enough supply to meet the demand in the marketplace, showing that it is a strong seller's market. So by listing a house safely, it will be exposed to a massive amount of buyers that are still looking to buy. And with that, ensures that competition can then be created. With a month and a half of inventory, shows a strong seller's market. What that means, if there's not one other house listed from today moving forward, it'll take a month and a half to clean out the entire inventory in the DC metro area. When I share that, which is facts, then they start to think a little bit differently. Wait a second, I didn't think anything was selling in the marketplace. So know your numbers. How did I figure out inventory? I took all the active listings over the last 30 days and divided by the sold listings in the last 30 days. And that shows me my months of inventory. Once again, I know I'm speaking to a number of different countries here. Everybody has different information, but if you have access to any information, that's the information that you truly want us to be able to see, so you can look at your absorption rate in your marketplace. So educating the consumer to what they think they know, but they don't know. But why do they choose us is another thing they have to understand. Well, I want to take them through what separates us from that of the average agent. Letting them know, the average agent in our marketplace, not to talk poorly about them, but the average agent in our marketplace only sells 4 houses a year. Where in the last 12 months, we've sold 150 homes. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I don't share this with you to try to impress you by any means, but to impress upon you how important it is to work with this agent that's actively selling homes in today's marketplace. It is absolutely critical. When working with the average agent, it stands to cost you money, because when the average agent is listing their homes from what they listed for to what it actually sells for, the average agents are selling their homes for 94% of the original list price. That means they're taking on average a 6% reduction from the original list price. Over the last 12 months, my listings have been selling at 98.7% of list price, significantly higher than that of the average agent in the marketplace. What that means for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is by working with us compared to working with another agent, if you work with another agent, the other agent could cost you $16,000 on average. And working with us, we'll retain that $16,000 and show you how it is that we're going to make you the additional $16,000. That's why you work with us. If you're looking at the average days in the market, the average days in the market over the last 12 months in the DC metro area for the average agent is 60 days in the market. Our average day on the market is 27 days on the market, and that's over the last 12 months. The reality is, through COVID, over the last 45 days, our average day on the market has been 6 days on the market. Reason why is because I'm forcing the 6-day period. A lot of times I can sell a house in 1 day, but you hired me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, to expose you to as many people as possible. And by doing that, I force the 6-day period. Fortunately, we've been the top 5 agents in the state of Maryland. We've been the top 5 agents in the state of Maryland since 2007, top 100 agents since 2012. This is what we do, and we do it full time. But just don't take my word for it. Let me show you how it is that we do it. So at this point, we do a head-to-head comparison of us listing a property as well as somebody else listing a property with the same 1 week span of time, and show them how it is that we were able to make them more money. So I showed them an example of these are 2 listings that came in the market within the same 1 week span of time. The one over here that got listed at $575 is my listing, and the one that listed at $595 is somebody else's listing. The person that listed at $595, they were under contract before I met with my seller. At $595, this was a nicer house. Updated roof, windows, kitchen, basement was finished. The kitchens, the bathrooms, it had a beautiful backyard. Like, this house was far nicer than ours. They listed at $595 and went under contract in 5 days. I had to assume if it went under contract in 5 days, they probably got full price. We would all assume that, right? So when I looked at my listing, you know, we didn't have a new roof. We had a roof that's probably about 25 years old. The original windows, the kitchen was redone about 15 years ago, and the bathrooms were done about 15 years ago. It was not comparing to the other one. But rather than having to replace the kitchen, the bathrooms, the roof, the windows, we understood we just had to reposition based on our condition. So we positioned the property at $575. When I listed at $575, through the weekend, we attracted 14 different offers on that property. Because of the 14 different offers that we had competing against each other, because it's impossible to underprice a house in any market that we're in, through that competition, allowed our property to go under contract at $606,000. Ultimately, Mr. and Mrs. Seller selling our property, a house that was not as nice as the next door neighbor within the same 1 week span of time, to sell for $15,500 more than that of the next door neighbor. See, guys, the comparison shows, I can say it, but I have to be able to show evidence of it. And I take them through this. I'm going to go through this quickly because of timing, but I'll take them through all different types of examples where I've continued to be able to net them more money, and significantly more money than that of any other people that I was competing against at that same time. Because when they look at my numbers, they say, okay, well, Nathan sells his houses for more money in the least amount of time. There's only one reason why he's doing that, and it must be because he's underpricing houses. That's not the case, because it's not what I price it at makes a difference. It's what it sells for, and they're selling for significantly more than anybody else that's listing at the same time. So very important that it's not what we say, it's what we show. So show different case studies if you can. As far as my credentials, once again, I take them through it, letting them know that over 70% of my business comes from my past clients and referrals, which is so very important, because I know I put my reputation on the line every time I meet somebody new. If I don't come to the table with honesty, integrity, and loyalty, they will never refer me out to anybody. And it's because of that mindset, it's because of my past clients, has allowed me to continue to be the top 5 agents in the state of Maryland since 2007, top 10 in Mid-Atlantic, top 100 in the US. Once again, this is what I do, and I do it full time. It's not what I say, it's what I do. Share additional testimonials from my clients at this point as well. But then I show them it takes 2 essential elements to sell a home successfully in today's marketplace. One is price. Second is presentation. Once again, what determines price is not me, it's not the sellers. What determines the price is the market. And Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you will probably meet other agents that are willing to come to your house, tell you whatever it is that you want to hear to ensure that they get the listing. But what they're doing is they're setting you up for failure. You need somebody that's honest with you to let you know truly where you stand in the marketplace. You also have to be aware of the agents that advertise, if I don't sell your house within a certain set period of time, then I'll buy it. The only guarantee is one, they're not going to buy it. And then 2, if they were to buy it, it's going to be at 30 to 40% under market value. Now in Europe, wherever it is that we're speaking to, whoever's on this call right now, you may or may not have these these call to actions. We have them all over North America. It works for some agents. It just doesn't work for me, but just something to be aware of. So we need to address that up front. What else we have to address is how people are searching for homes. And we know in North America, and I know a lot of you guys in Europe, it's the same way, 100% of the buyers in the marketplace shop one place to find a house. And that's online. They're using whatever online platforms are available to them to shop for properties. So we have to understand the psychology behind how people shop. Because if 100% of the people are shopping online, you have to understand the platforms in which they're using. Because pricing based on these criteria and the platforms is absolutely critical. What I find in the US and in North America, that it's within $25,000 increments that people shop. So people are looking to buy a house. They're looking between, say, 400 to 425, 425 to 450, 450 to 475, 475 to 500. So if I start pricing properties at, say, 499, 999, or if I want to appeal to feng shui, 488, 888, I could be missing buyers because of $1. If I've got a buyer looking to buy at 500 or 525, if I list at 499, 999, they don't see me. So it's very important to understand within what threshold should we be advertising our properties in? What $25,000 increment are we going to be able to capture the most amount of activity for sellers or buyers looking to buy in that particular area? If we're, it's based on condition, should we be at that 475 mark or the 500 mark? Because if we're at 475, we're appealing to the buyers that are looking from 450 to 475, as well as the buyers looking between 475 and 500. But in vice versa, if we're at like a 485, we're only going to be appealing to, anybody that's looking at 475 plus. So where are we as far as our condition? At what range should we be in when advertising? Apologize, I'm rushing right now. I want to make sure we have plenty of time. But generally speaking, that's how we focus on the pricing element of things. When we look at those values, we have to look at what's currently active, under contract, and sold. Knowing that if there's anything active on the market for over 25 plus days, there's nothing active about that listing. If it was, it'd be under contract or sold by that time. So how many days has it been on the market? You can learn a lot from that. How many days did it take for it to go under contract? Was it under the 25-day window or above the 25-day window? If it was under the 25-day window, you have to assume it probably went somewhere around full price. If it exceeded the 25-day window, it probably sold for less than full price. And then ultimately, what did it sell for? And not only what did it sell for, but what type of concessions, seller credits did they have to give back? Say the property sold at $500,000, but a seller gave back $10,000 in a seller credit. Well, that means the property only sold at $490, right? So we got to recognize truly what the numbers are. In doing that, we have to compare the location, the features, upgrades, size, amenities, everything, apples to apples as best we can. Because what you'll find is you'll see listings on the market. You'll see, say there's two houses on the market. They're identical, same floor plan, same neighborhood, same backyard, same size, and both updated their kitchens. They both have new kitchens, but one person spent $25,000 on a brand new kitchen. The other person spent $50,000 on a brand new kitchen. Because that one person spent $25,000 more on their kitchen than the next door neighbor, can they then sell their house for $25,000 more? No. Not only would buyers may not want to pay that extra money, and even if they did, an appraiser would never appraise it for $25,000 more just because they spent $25,000 more on their kitchen, right? Because you're going to have sellers that say, well, look, we both have new kitchens, but I spent more money, so therefore I should be able to sell my house for more money. That's not the case, because we don't know that it actually appraised just because of that. So a new kitchen is a new kitchen. Also, my goal is not only to try to sell the houses for as much money as possible, but ensure that I net as much money in my seller's hands as possible. So what I do is I want to educate them to show them where the greatest return of investment is in any project in their house. What we recognize, the greatest return of investment in any project in their house is in their kitchen. But that's only at 78%. So if I advise a seller to go in and redo their kitchen just so I can put it on the market, I'm advising them to lose 22% of their investment. So this is something that we have to question. We're advisors. We're trusted advisors. Does it make sense to advise our clients to make these upgrades where we know they won't get the return? Or is it better to educate them to say, you know what, it's impossible to underprice a house in today's marketplace because the more competitively you position it, the more demand you create, therefore it sells for more money. So what if you just reposition the property at a different price point, assuming and understanding that we have to leave the margins there for those upgrades? Net, what I've been able to find is that my sellers come out ahead because of it. So I want you to be able to think about that too in your own marketplaces. How can you truly be an advisor to that of your sellers? We talked about that window of opportunity, understanding the 25-day window, and it is so critical because you guys know it. When you list properties, a bulk of your activity comes within the first 7 to 14 days that you're live on the market. After 14 days, your showings start to decrease. After 25 days, it's like falling off a cliff. So when you get those sellers say, hey, Nathan, I hear what you're saying about the price, but I really want to try to sell it for a little bit more to give myself a bit of wiggle room so I can always negotiate down. Or can we at least try a little higher price? We've all heard that before. They can, but they have to understand the choice that they have. They can choose to do that, but the risks that they take, is it worth it? And we have to educate them to those risks. After I continue to educate them to those risks, they recognize it's not worth the risk. They'd rather have the reward of knowing that they position it correctly on day one, fully exposed. They will optimize, obviously, the true value of their property. Now, we also have to educate them where our buyers are coming from. What I find is my buyers come from one of three different groups of people: out-of-town buyers, local buyers, and neighborhood buyers. I'll explain that in more detail as we go through based on time. How we expose those three different groups of people is through our online activity. Now, once again, I have platforms that are different than the platforms that you have in Europe. It doesn't make a difference what the platforms are. You just want to make sure you expose them to as many platforms as possible with all the information you possibly can. And that's what I want to be able to make sure that you guys understand without going into detail of what it is that I'm doing, because it's different what I have access to than you do in Europe. But how can you expose your listings to as many people as possible? What type of real estate platforms do you have access to? What type of paid real estate platforms may you have access to where they can expose you to more people? And then understanding, have you created personal websites for them? What are you doing for geo-targeting online through Facebook, Instagram, what have you? And then understanding that the average internet buyer, from when they start their search to when they buy, the average time frame is 10 to 14 months, at least in my area. So just know that when you get those buyers that are calling on your listings, they may not be ready to buy right now. So you have to become the resource center for those buyers over the next 10 to 14 months so that when they are ready to buy, they're buying with you. So what we do is we create a database. We've collected this database over 3 years now. We got about 12,000 names in this database, all subcategorized based on price range and location. So every time I list something new, I go into this database and engage that audience to say, hey, I just listed this house within this price range and location that you had previously been looking at, and I'd love to set up a private tour for you after we go live on the market. Okay, so we can talk about that when we have time for questions. At that point, after they see how I've exposed it, I want to go back to understanding that our biggest competition in today's market is not necessarily ourselves, it's not necessarily the other agents, it's the virus itself. So how can we safely sell in this environment? How can we be part of the solution rather than the problem in this marketplace that we're in? So safety first is absolutely critical. So I want to go into detail once again of what protocols we put in place to ensure that they maintain a safe environment for anybody that's coming in and out of their house. So once again, following the CDC guidelines, we understand and encourage that all sick clients and agents are not welcome to come in the home. They need to stay at home, their own home, not ours. Emphasizing good hygiene. Every showing, we have to provide tissues and booties and hand sanitizers and trash cans so that when they come in, they can actually have a clean and sterile environment. Creating a virtual experience, critical. How can we elevate the experience for the consumer so they can see everything virtually before they come into the house? I only want to be able to track interested and qualified buyers into our properties because I want to keep my environment for my sellers safe at all times. We also display at all of our listings the COVID-19 waiver, acknowledging that their clients and themselves are healthy, that they have walked through a 3D virtual tour prior to coming into the house, and they've also driven past the house knowing that they're qualified to come through. They know they're not to touch anything, lights are left on, doors are left open, and they need a wipe out as they leave. Buyers also have to be qualified now. And this honestly, I think has been a good thing. The good thing I've taken out of COVID is understanding the efficiency and the qualifications and how important it is in bringing qualified buyers into our houses. So what we're requiring now is we ensure that all the buyers that walk through our listings are already pre-qualified by a lender. We want to know that they're qualified for that price point. I don't want to bring unqualified buyers to risk my seller's safety. Okay, so only qualified buyers can come through our house. Also, once again, we ask that the agent takes them through our 3D virtual tour prior to them coming through the house, and also encourage that they drive by the property to see that they're comfortable with the area and the neighborhood. Then we create the virtual experience so that they can see that. And this is what we do. It all starts with the still photos. So make sure you hire a professional photographer in taking your still photos, because this is level one. This is where they determine whether or not this is going to be the right property for them, is based on the still photos. If they don't like the still photos, they're not going to want to come see the house. But then we have to take it to the next level. We then have to establish the 3D experience. Now, I use a program called, technology called Matterport. What it is a camera that scans the properties. and it allows the consumer to have a self-guided tour of the property at their leisure. They can truly see the flow of the house in the safety of their own house. They can see the actual property for what it is. So we create a 3D and 2D floor plan. Now, this has been in the marketplace for quite some time. You know, in Europe, I know you may have access, you will have access to this too. If not, once again, it's called Matterport. It's a Matterport camera. I know you can get it and work with your photographer on how to do it. You could do it yourself if you wanted to. I hire it out because it doesn't make my top 3 if you've heard me speak in the past. Now, with the Matterport tours, I want to enhance that technology, especially with COVID. So what we've done to enhance it is we've created certain things called Matter tags, highlighting any add-ons that the property may have, meaning if they have any upgrades in their appliance packages, in their floors, in their cabinets, in their kitchens, their bathrooms, whatever it may be, I create these pop-up ads. So as they take themselves to the tour, they see it, they click on it, and they get additional features and benefits of these certain things within the property. Then we create a fully interactive measuring tool. This is all within the Matterport program, which allows them to go in any particular room and measure out to make sure that their favorite couch fits, their bed fits, their table fits, their painting will fit in these rooms. So it's a fully interactive tool allowing them to measure out the property. Then we have the floor plans as well as the dollhouse views. We also, now in Google in the US, does these Google views, street maps and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you have it in Europe, but it's okay. If you don't, I encourage you bring this to Europe. What we find is consumers like to see what the neighborhood looks like as well. So we created a 3D experience of the exterior of the home, where our photographer will go out and do a 3D analysis of everything on the outside of the house, in the front and in the back, so that it's be fully exposed and they clearly understand what the neighborhood looks like. And they can see this once again from their house before they go out to the house. We do the aerial shots where necessary. So if you're doing aerial shots, especially on estate home properties, they work great. If it's a condo or if it's a townhouse and maybe not so attractive as a backyard, maybe not exactly ideal for an aerial shot, but where you can get the aerial shots in, try to make it work. I think it's been an excellent resource for us, especially if you've got a property that has a 3-hole golf course in its backyard. Not a lot of those. The video aspect of it, I don't have time to show you the videos. I know Jesse has done a fantastic job in showing you how to do video tours of properties. I encourage the video tours because that elevates the experience. It creates an emotional draw to the actual property itself. Creating a virtual website of the property, so propertyaddress.com. Having memorable marketing pieces that are left there at the property for them to be able to pick up if they go through it is also very important, as well as those old school, just listed, just sold cards. I'm finding that actually, what I've had in the last month, I had 4 calls just based on just sold cards or just sold advertisements that I've been posting on Facebook and Instagram. If we have time, you can ask me that question a little bit later. We also set up a showing concierge service for our clients. The showing concierge understands the best times and days that work for my seller as far as those showings. With the times and dates that they have, we also tell the agents the rules and the protocols that we've been put in place to make sure that they follow those as well. Also, it informs me that one of my listings is being shown. So we can call those agents to give them an information in regards to what is, they need to know prior to the actual showing itself. We take this information and we build this report so we can create feedback for our clients. So every week they receive a feedback report like this. Okay, this is an example of a feedback report that we send to our clients. So they always understand where they stand in the marketplace. The weekly reports are so important because if a house has been on the market for say 5 to 6 weeks and it has not sold, they're going to wonder why the house hasn't sold. Well, they're going to ask me that question and I have to be prepared to educate them to why it hasn't sold. So I walk them through and say, well, look, the signs in the front yard, the keys in the lockbox, you're welcome to show it anytime that you like. And you've said the pictures turned out great. We're seeing exposure online. For instance, on this particular website or this particular listing, Dart Homes had 63 unique visitors within 1 week span of time. Realtor.com had 78, Craigslist had 36, Zillow had 613, Truly had 532 unique visitors on this one house. We know people are seeing online and we can see people walking through the front door. We had 4 different showings that occurred. Based on the 4 different showings, what feedback did we receive from the actual showing? As you can see, the first person walked through, they said it was a nice house. The client is considering it. They think the kitchen, the outdoor space, but the purple paint in the master bedroom was a little off-putting. So when wondering why has our house sold, maybe it had something to do with that purple paint in the master bedroom. So we have to ask the seller, hey, you know what? We could do one of two different things. We could paint that purple paint, or we could reduce the property by 3%. What works better for you? Generally speaking, it makes more sense to paint that purple paint than to reduce by 3%. But the other extreme is, let's say we've been on the market 5 to 6 weeks and not one person has walked through the front door. Now, there's a lot of exposure online. Same things apply. 3D virtual tour, pictures turned out great. The home is, available to be shown anytime, but not one person has walked through the front door. What then would be the one reason why nobody's walked through the front door? Clearly, it's price. It's one of the two different things. So we let them answer that question for us, and then we can start to move forward and determine, okay, what price do we have to reposition ourselves to?
Nathan?
Yes.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Can you go back to that one slide? So I just want to make this clear for our network. In the column that's agent and office, those are all of the agents that have shown your listing, correct?
That's correct.
And they don't work as a part of your team?
No, they do not.
Perfect. I just wanted to make that clear because agent cooperation is something that we're working on, and it seems like it's something that you're doing naturally, and it seems to be working.
Well, yes. We've had a system that's cooperation is just part of naturally how we do business in North America. Honestly, I wouldn't do it any other way. And seeing that you guys have an opportunity to cooperate and introduce this into your marketplace, I think is critical and tremendous that you could offer that type of stuff, which should be a huge value add for anybody that wants to see your house. But that's just my quick opinion. But yeah, just so we can get through this in enough time here, we're getting good. And I've got plenty of time, by the way, Haley. Afterwards, you're catching me first thing in the morning. So I got time. But the primary goal of a listing presentation is education. Education. We have to educate the clients to what is they think they know, but they don't know. The 5 reasons which I've been able to find why people would not otherwise want to work with me, obviously, as you can recognize, if I'm converting at 94% of the time, which is great, there's 6% that I don't get. And for me, probably no surprise to you, I want to figure out why so that I can improve. The reasons why they otherwise don't want to work with me or may not want to work with you in the marketplace comes down to one of 5 different reasons. One is lack of trust, lack of need or motivation, lack of urgency, lack of confidence, and lack of likability. Okay, so things to consider. How do you appeal to these people? You got to make them trust you. How you do that is you base it based on trying to help them rather than to sell them. Try to educate them rather than to sell them. Understand when do they want to move? Where do they want to move? But most importantly, why do they want to move? What is their motivation? What is their why? Because with the why, then you'll find their urgency. Then they have to have confidence in you. Now, when I speak to somebody, some people, the objection they feel for me is that I almost have too much confidence. They're almost kind of intimidated by maybe my energy or my confidence level in working with me. And I totally understand that. Then we're just not the right fit. But you have to be confident, because without confidence, especially during these times, that's who they're going to be attracted to, because in today's market, that's who they need. But confidence has to come through experience. Confidence has to come through education and truly understand the marketplace. And they have to like you. If they don't like you, they're not going to work with you, even though they are selling their most important investment ever, or the expensive investment that they have. The secrets to a successful presentation comes down to preparation, education, investigation. We have to ask questions. And what I find is I always have a higher conversion rate when it's a referral. So based on recommendations, if you're meeting somebody new, make sure they see those testimonials, make sure they see those case studies, because those are then recommendations as well. The post-listing follow-up, absolutely important. After the listing is done, the listing closes. I ask if they have any questions. They have no questions. That's great. Well, I have one more question for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Based on everything that we've covered here today, do you have any objections to why you would not feel comfortable working with me? I sit back, I keep my mouth shut, and I wait. At that point, I say, no, you were great. You're wonderful. Okay, great. Well, are you ready to get started? Is the question. Then we'll go through the listing agreement. Well, we're concerned that you have a team and you don't have enough time for us. Well, then I'll address that objection head on. Or, we have a question in regards to your internet advertising. Okay, well, then we'll address it right there. Then I'll ask again, do you have any other further objections to why you wouldn't feel comfortable working with me? Well, no. Okay, well then are you ready to get started? Well, no, my wife and I, we want to discuss before we make a decision. Totally understand that, and I appreciate that. I want you to take that time because it's important that you feel comfortable working with me or with any other agents you may want to work with. When do you feel you may have a decision where I can then follow up with you again? Well, we'll be looking to make a decision by Friday. Okay, well, prior to Friday, do you mind if I pencil in a quick appointment that I can come back and sit down and talk to you maybe on Thursday at 5 o'clock? I'm available, or we can talk about any questions you may have after you spoke to some of these other agents. Well, I don't know that I can prepare. Well, it's okay. I'm just going to pencil it in. If you have that time, would you be available to get together at 5 o'clock on Thursday? I'm just going to pencil it in, and I'll confirm again on Wednesday, of course. Would that work out for you? Well, I guess. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and pencil this in. Now, when I call back on Wednesday, reconfirming the appointment, they already had planned on me coming over there with a penciled in appointment on Thursday at 5 o'clock. When I call back, I'm calling back to see if I actually got the listing or not, or if there's any concerns. Guess what I'm doing? I'm going back on Thursday at 5 o'clock. And if I go back to their house on Thursday at 5 o'clock, do you think I'm gonna walk out of there without a signed listing agreement? No, right? Constantly booking that appointment because we always have follow-up with this. So I wanna follow up. I wanna send them a thank you note after the listing appointment. I wanna drop off a gift. Now there's a difference between a gift and a reward. A gift comes before you've received anything. A reward comes after. For instance, and this is a story that I can tell at a later date, the gifts are very, very powerful. As you walk through their house or as you understand the story of their home or learn more about them, because we're investigating, you find out what is good to, what are they doing during COVID? What's entertaining them? Is it their happy hours? What do they enjoy to do during their happy hours? I dropped off a bottle of wine and chocolates and carry bags for the grocery store that were, they could wash or whatever at a seller's house before I actually presented the VR, my virtual reality or my virtual listing presentation. They're like, Nathan, I don't even need to see it because you're already going to get the listing. So what types of things can you provide ahead of time just to elevate that? And then register the customer on a follow-up plan. So if they're not ready to do anything yet, put them in a follow-up plan and continue to execute on that plan. So guys, I think we ended in an hour. We have to understand what it is that we invest in. Is it your family? Is it your personal life? Is it the money that you've invested in? What is it that's going to push you through to elevate what you're otherwise currently doing to show your value in the marketplace? Because in absence of value, it always comes down to price. What value are you going to provide to elevate your marketplace in today's market? So guys, I am wide open for questions. Haley, I don't see any questions. I guess I can open it up. Is there any particular questions that you're seeing?
No worries. You don't have to go back in. I've been taking notes of all of the questions, so I have a few for you. Thanks, first of all, so much. That was incredible. To everybody who's still in the session with us, who English is not your first language, Nathan was talking a little fast.
Yes.
But all of that information is super, super important. So I would encourage you, when you receive the recording, watch it again. There was so many nuggets of really, really important information that I know, Nathan, if we had had more time, you would have gone more in depth into each of those points. For example, the showing concierge. You were blowing through that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that would be really important for our network. So I would encourage everybody to go back and watch it again, watch Nathan's presentation again. He had all these great scripts, write them down and use them. That would be the first thing that I wanted to say. Thank you. And everybody watch this again. Okay, now we have a little bit of time just for some quick questions here. Let me go to my notes. One thing, so the first question is actually about the beginning of your presentation, and this also confused me a little bit because in one of the first slides, you were sending them three things. You were sending them a trifold, either via email or mail. You were shooting a coming soon video, and then there was a third thing. But the order in which you did that, does that come before you do the listing presentation?
Yes.
Can you explain the order, that when all of that? Because if you're shooting a coming soon video, but you're doing it before the listing presentation, can you explain that strategy a bit?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to show, because it's more than what I say, it's what I do, right? So I want to provide them the trifold. Once again, I asked if they want it delivered, if they want it mailed, if they want it just emailed. Okay. So A lot of times they're just asking for me to email it to them now, which is fine. Before COVID, I would actually have them overnighted. Okay, so it'd be first class overnighted at their doorstep. It was just something that they were receiving because I knew they weren't going to be receiving anything else from any other agents. So once again, it was just another touch point. The other thing with the coming soon, my team, they think it's funny. They think it's actually kind of creepy that I do this, but if I have the opportunity to do it, I'll go to the house and I'll do a quick video, say, you know, hey, I'm at 123 Main Street, looking forward to have the opportunity to be able to expose this house online. You know, it's a special home about the community, whatever it is, just a quick 30-second video. And I send it to them. And they're like, man, this guy's already gotten started on listing or marketing our house. Right? I haven't, but at least they sense that, right? And then it's the questionnaire. And the questionnaire is the other thing that I send to them for them to be able to fill out. And then also included in that questionnaire, I show them the protocol of selling safely in today's marketplace. Because I need them to understand that I am fully aware and I want and I need to protect them. Because I'm having people come into their sterile environment and they need to know that I'm aware of that and I want to do everything I possibly can to protect them and their family.
That's amazing. So you hit them with value. You show them that you have, that you can back it up with the coming soon video, and then you educate them on how to sell safely before you even go into the listing presentation.
Correct.
That's amazing. Okay. You mentioned a desktop appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
So they were asking, and I don't know if this is something that for those of you guys that are still listening along, I don't know if this is something that will be available in every region, but can you maybe talk a little for like a minute about what a desktop appraisal is, how much it costs in your area, and how you go about doing it? Because then maybe our regions can find something that would be equivalent.
Yeah. So a desktop. So yes. Can you see my screen right now? Yep. Okay. So here's my desktop appraisal. What it does, it's through my MLS. Now I know that I'm speaking to countries that don't have an established MLS, and I get that. And that's, that's something that you'll work with. So you may have to work through different platforms.
Sorry, Nathan, I see your presentation.
Got it. Now you see it?
Yep.
Okay. The desktop appraiser is done through an appraise that goes into the MLS. Okay. So it's just a generic view of the property, which means that they don't ever walk into the house. They just look at the public record, identify the location. They look within a 1 mile radius, look at the square footage plus minus 20%, and take an average of all the sales that have occurred in the last 6 months. Okay. So what it does, and it creates an analysis or report to show the average price. So when I go with the seller, I say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I don't get to pick the price. You don't get to pick the price. It's determined what a buyer is willing to pay. But if the buyer is willing to pay it, for the most part, they still have to get it appraised, right? So here's generally speaking what it would appraise for. The original list price, what it actually went under contract for, what it closed for, any concessions they gave back. But then you can look at the average net sales price and then the days in the market. So once again, it's not coming from me, it's coming from the market, is showing the actual evidence. So I look at it a couple different ways. And once again, I'm sharing something that in Europe, you guys don't have access to. So it's unfair, but I want to share it with you because you may have something that I'm not aware of that you can use. You just have to find a way to take the pressure off for you, because you don't pick the price as an agent. The seller does not get to pick the price as a seller. Price is solely to determine what a buyer is willing to pay. So wherever and however you can show evidence of what buyers have been willing to pay is critical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And actually, that was another one of those nuggets that you mentioned before, and that I wanted to ask you about, because you said something about if the list price, if the listing has been on the market for a certain number of days, you can assume that it's sold at list price. Or you can assume that it's sold above list price, or you can assume that it's sold below list price. Because I know in some of our regions, we don't have a lot of sold data, or the sold data is not as reliable. So can you touch on that point again, how you can make a prediction about what the sold price would be based on the days on market?
Yeah, so I have access to the sold data. Okay, so because I have access to it, I know and I can track that there's a window of opportunity within the first 25 days a property sells, it's more or less likely to sell for full price. Okay, so let's use that as the baseline. So if it exceeds 25 plus days, just think, if you got a buyer that's out shopping for a house and they see that house has been on the market 5 plus days, will there be any way that they'll pay full price for that house? Like, no chance. There's no way you would advise somebody to pay full price for a house that's been on the market for over 25 plus days. So just think about that when you're conveying that message to the seller. Say it works the same way. And you can say it to the seller, say, hey, look, if I was out showing you houses right now, and we saw houses that are on the market for over 25 plus days, I'll never advise you to pay full price. So why do you think anybody else would do the same for you while your house is listed? You guys follow what I'm saying? Yeah. So if it's under contract and no longer available and it had been on the market for over 25 plus days, I know it probably didn't sell for full price. If it went under contract in less than 25 days, I know at that point it probably sold for somewhere close to full price. These are just the assumptions.
Perfect. And then I do notice we have some, we're running out of time, but I had one more question. It was about your CRM, which CRM you use. And yeah, if you could explain that a little bit.
I use something called Salesforce. So Salesforce is a very big CRM. I'm sure you probably have it in Europe as well. Through Salesforce, there's a platform called Property Base. Property Base is a platform built for real estate agents. And it's what I run my entire team off of, is something called Property Base, built off the Salesforce platform. It's not cheap. It is expensive, but it's something that I've been using since 2008. And honestly, when it comes to CRMs, it doesn't make a difference which CRM it is. It's just the one that you use. So I use and pay for it, Property Base, but it's just because that's just what I'm used to. So what other outlets do you have? You have to consider what is it you're going to use.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I know we are over time, and I do want to respect your time and everybody who is participating. So thank you again so much, Nathan. This has been incredibly valuable for our whole network, myself included. So thank you again for your time. To everybody out there, we will be sending you a recording. Nathan, did you have one last thing you want to say?
Yes, to be helpful. I know I was speaking fast because there's so much information I want to get to you guys in the 60 minutes that I had. One, I look forward to coming back and seeing you guys in Europe, and we can do this live and we can have more time. So I look forward to seeing you guys when I can leave the country again. But then two, yes, watch this video. It's the same way that I learned as well. Like this didn't come overnight, guys. I watched and heard, and all these quick little pearls and all these things that I got, it's because I listened to other people do the same thing. I watched it over and over and over again. So I encourage you to do that. I apologize I spoke fast. Obviously, I don't speak fast all the time, but use it, embrace it, take it in, take notes, and apply it. You must apply it. And I know there's some things that you're like, how do I do this in Europe? I don't know. You got to figure out a way. And through figuring out a way with an open mindset, creates the opportunity that you guys have. So I can't wait to see what you do with this and hear about it live when I get to see you in person.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nathan. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you to everybody who has been joining along. The Next Level Up series will be coming to you on Monday.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.